Hi, I'm Bill Williams, and welcome to our offices here of the Profittunity Trading Group, and welcome to your 12-week, 3-month home study course. You've probably taken this course for one of two reasons. Number one, you want to learn how to trade better, both in futures, stocks, and bonds. Or number two, that you're planning to use this as a preparatory means for coming here to your private tutorial. We know from history of the past 13 years that 85% of you who purchase the home study course will end up coming here to the private tutorial. So we want to welcome you here, let you see the office, let you see some of the computers and the machines that we have, so that when you get here you will know a little bit more about what to expect. We also have a faculty here that we want to introduce you to. Justine is a nurse, or was a nurse, before she became a professional trader. She's been trading for several years now. She's quite a good trader, and she's an excellent, excellent teacher. And I'm also very proud to say that she's also my daughter.
Hi, I'm Justine Gregory Williams, and I want to take a few minutes to go over the items that are going to be in your home study package. First thing you're going to have is Bill's book, New Trading Dimensions. We're going to expand on that with the manual. This is going to be your study guide. This is going to be your best friend for your 12 weeks of the home study course. You're going to go through week by week, day by day. It's going to have examples, charts, and instructions for what you need to be doing. The next thing that we're going to take a look at are going to be your videotapes. Now the course is designed to be gone through in 12 weeks, so you're going to have 12 weeks of videotapes, one for each week. There'll be 3 boxes of the videotapes, and each one will be numbered with what weeks you should be doing at that time. The next item we're going to look at are going to be your manuals. Now the manuals will take care of the videos. You're going to have one that goes with your videotapes. You're going to have this one that goes along with your book, and you're going to have a study guide. So it's going to give you practice pages, and it's going to keep you up to date with what you need to be doing in your homework. The next thing we're going to take a look at are going to be your ticket books. Now this is where we place our orders and how we place our orders intraday. You're going to place in your buy stops, in your fills. The most important part, I think, is on the back. This is where we fill out our feelings about our trade, what made us decide to take this trade. We will come back later and examine all of our trades to see where our best trades were and where our worst trades were. The next thing that we have is going to be the CD-ROM. We are now kind of up to date. We've gone a long way. Everything we have is going to be on CD. So your CompuTorals on a CD, your Investor's Dream will still come off the web, you'll need to download, but your indicator disc for TradeStation or Metastock will all be on the CD-ROM. Another item that's going to be included will be your anti-stress tapes. Now for the first 6 weeks you'll be doing these day by day, but after 6 weeks you should be able to go through and do these without any tapes or any assistance. Some of the people that have taken our home study course in the past have said these tapes alone have been worth their entire course. And now we have our tip sheets. The tip sheets have been designed to help you out. What they do, they're laminated sheets. Each of them have different signals, different things going on. And this one particular one is about the alligator, so it's going to tell you where to enter, where not to enter, where you want to be. Other particular sheets have Elliott wave help. They have the different signals that we have created, which are going to give you signals and help you find where you should be and shouldn't be until they become second nature to you. And finally, if you decide to join us for a private tutorial, this is going to be your notebook. Each tutorial that we do, we design a notebook for you. It's individualized with your name and your date on it, and it's yours to keep. So we look forward to working with you in the future and hope you have a great day.
You might have the question, why are we using this multimedia approach? One of the things we know is that you only remember about 5% of everything that you hear. You only remember about 10% of everything you read. You only remember about 20% of everything that you see. You remember about 30% of things that you read and hear. But things that you hear, read, see, and do, you remember about 80%. So all the way through this program, we're going to be hearing, seeing, reading, and doing. And it's very important that you participate in all of this. And you will have a manual that Justine has already shown you, and it shows you day by day, and in this video we're going to take it day by day. Now you may also have the question, how can you be sure that this stuff works? How can you be sure that this is different or that may be the one for you? Well, you really can't, to be quite honest with you, but we know this from history. We have trained in workshops over 25,000 traders all the way around the world in 14 different countries. We have trained over 700 traders individually in our personal tutorials here in our trading room who are now successful independent speculators. We have had at these tutorials the head trader from a number of foreign banks. We've had the executive vice president from one of the major exchanges in the world, one of the largest exchanges in the world, and we have over 700 unsolicited testimonial letters from people who have been here, who are now doing it, and are appreciative of what they learned here. Another question that's probably on your mind at this time, and a logical question, is are there any guarantees? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. There's no way in the world that anybody can guarantee that you will be successful unless you can guarantee to follow the rules. So our guarantee is as follows, and it's written out specifically in your study manual. The guarantee is that if you follow this methodology, you will be successful. The method is guaranteed, but you have to have your own input. A second guarantee we have is that if you ever find anything that works better in the same markets in the same time frame than this, no matter whether you've been successful or not, we'll give you your money back. So we have a twofold guarantee. We guarantee that the method works. So all you have to do is follow the method. If you follow the method and are not successful, then you have a guaranteed money back. The second guarantee is whether you're successful or not, if you ever find anything that works better in the same markets, stocks, bonds, and commodities, then this methodology, just show it to us and we'll give you your money back there. Doesn't matter whether you've been successful or not. You can be wildly successful, but if you find something better, we'll still give you your money back. And as we start on this journey, as you read the introduction in your study manual, you'll notice that we compare this to a whitewater rafting trip. So if you go out to whitewater to raft on a whitewater trip, the first thing you do is you get all of your equipment together. Now, Justine and Tracy have already gone over all of your equipment to make sure that you have it all. And the next thing you do is you plan your trip. You start off in very smooth, calm water to get used to the paddling, to get used to the boat, and to get used to the other people who are in the same boat that you are. And then when you reach the rapids, you have a method, you have a strategy to go by these rapids and miss the rocks and have a lot of fun doing it. Now, you and I, in different rafts, we're going to take a slightly different trip. We'll make a little bit different outline around the rocks. So we may not trade exactly the same way, but our technique of getting there is going to be the same, and the rules for getting there are going to be the same. And we know that once we get through these rapids, there's a real nice place at the other end with calm, deep water where we can relax, we can enjoy the fruits of our labors, and we can have memories that will last a lifetime. So again, let me welcome you here to this 3-month trading program with one caveat. And that caveat is I suggest that you paper trade first. Now, there's a big difference between paper trading and real trading. In paper trading, you're going to do a lot better because you don't have your emotions, you don't have your money, and it's a very different world. But so that you can get used to the rules and get used to this techniques, let me strongly suggest that you not start off trading this technique with your money. Trade it with paper first until you get confidence that this really works real time, and then start putting your money there. And we're going now to start with the first session, day 1, week 1. Welcome now back to the day 1, week 1. You've gone through all of the supplies that you have and make sure that you have them all. And today we're going to get some background of the market. We're going to go a little bit slow this first week. We're not going to jump right into trading, but we're going to understand what is really going on with the market. On this particular view that you see on your screen right now, this is necessary that we say this, that future results cannot be guaranteed by past profits. But remember that we do have this twofold guarantee. We guarantee the program, we guarantee the approach. All you have to do is guarantee that you will follow the rules of this. And I want you to look at another picture right now and read what it says. Read it to yourself, actually say it out loud. What does this screen say to you? We know from past experience that over 90% of the people who read this screen read these letters, read these words as opportunity is nowhere. Now look at this again. Take a second look. And as this turns around, you will see that it says now very clearly that opportunity is now here. It's very important, these two versions, because you are coming from your belief system. And as we investigate this further, we're going to find out that everybody trades their own belief system. Nobody really trades the market. And we need to work with your belief system. If you can change the way you believe, change your beliefs, you're going to change your results in the market. We know a lot about you. Even though we may not have formally met, you and I, we know a great deal about you from past results. Remember that we've trained in workshops over 25,000 people and privately trained over 700 individuals here in our private trading room. Here are the things we know about you. First of all, we know that you're in the top 10%. You're in the 90th percentile intelligence-wise. In fact, we could almost have a Mensa group here. We know that you're smart. As a group, you're in the top 1 out of every 10 people. We also know something else about you. We know that in the past, you have either been successful in your profession or in business. It's very, very rare. In fact, I could count the ones I know on the fingers of one hand of people who come out of high school or college and become immediately successful traders and investors in the stock and or commodity markets. So we know that you're very smart. We also know that you've had past success either in professions or in business. And the third thing we know is that you've accumulated some discretionary money. That is, unless you found some broker somewhere in this world who will take your Visa or Master Gold card and let you open an account with that. So the three things we know about you are that you're quite smart, you've been successful, and you've accumulated some amount of money. And all of this results when you come to trading in a 90% failure. Now that's atrocious. Why is that? Well, there's several reasons. One reason, the main reason, is that you happen to be using the wrong map. And by the wrong map, we mean the wrong philosophy. So the question then is, why are you here? If 90% of the people who come into this trading arena are failures, why would you want to be here? Well, there's several reasons. You may have tried it before and been not as successful as you'd like to be. You feel that there's a lot of opportunity. You've heard of other people being very successful in this endeavor, and you perhaps have tried it before and have not been as successful. You want to be more successful than you've been. You've tried other methods and you failed, but there's still that glimmer that there is something here. And there is. And we know that there are many, many reasons for you coming here. And one of the questions we want to ask you that has a relationship to the question we asked you just a few minutes ago about whether opportunity is now here or is nowhere is what kind of an animal is the market. Let's assume, for example, that I have just arrived from outer space and I happen to know a great deal about animals on Earth, but I don't know anything about markets. And you're trying to explain to me what the markets are like. And you're trying to make an analogy between an animal. What animal best represents the market to you? Think about that for a moment, and then let's look into it. Most people that we ask that question to say that the market is an 800-pound gorilla, it's a shark, it's a snake, it's a tiger, or it's a stubborn donkey. What is the animal that represents best the market to you? Well, think about that for one moment and then answer it for yourself. And realize that one of our big goals in this study is to make the animal a much, much friendlier place. And there's one other concept that we want you to understand too. You've heard from many, many people, and most everything that you've read and heard on the newspaper, or read in the newspaper and heard on television, is that there is no Holy Grail. Well, there is. And let me interject here something that one of my favorite quotes from Einstein. Einstein was once asked near the end of his life, what is the most important question we could ever ask? And he replied almost without hesitation. And the group he was speaking to were scientists from all over the world, and they thought he was going to ask the question about the unified field theory, which is what he was interested in. But he answered immediately that the most important question you can ever ask is the universe a friendly place? So the question we want to ask is the market a friendly place? And if the market is a tiger or an 800-pound gorilla, obviously it's not a friendly place for you. So one of our goals, to repeat, is to make the market a friendly place so that you believe in the market and you can believe in making profits and you can believe in a Holy Grail. And here's the Holy Grail. It's very simple. It's in the preface that you read in preparation for today. It's 5 short, sweet words. Those 5 words are simply want what the market wants. Think about that for a moment. All of your disappointments, all of your disappointed expectations were because you were trying to predict the market, you generated expectations, and they weren't fulfilled. You bought the bonds with the expectation they were going up, and they went down. Or you sold Coca-Cola stock because you thought it was going down and it went up. Think about what would happen if you could trade the market without any expectations. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this tutorial and in this home study course. We're going to learn how to trade the markets without any expectations. So to review very briefly, we know that the markets are a reflection of us. Actually, the market is not fundamental, it's not technical, it's not economic, and it's not mechanical. The market is really a composite of all the traders out there and all the investors out there making these crazy, chaotic decisions. And our approach to the market is uniquely different in that we believe that we're the first to really make the science of chaos practical in everyday investing and trading. And this week we're going to spend some time, and next week we're going to spend some time on understanding the science of chaos. We're going to make this first day a little bit short, so let's review very briefly what we've covered. We've talked about the opportunity in the market and how the market reflects your own self. We know that if you have expectations in the market, the chances are you're going to be disappointed, so we want to trade the market from a standpoint of not having any expectations. We don't even have to predict where the markets are going. We're going to trade the market like a spider web. And what happens to a spider? He looks around and he says to himself, it looks like there are going to be some bugs coming through here. So the spider spins a nice web. And then he goes to the center of the web and he just waits there. He relaxes. He may even go to sleep. And then when a bug hits that web, he runs over there, gets the bugs, comes back and to the center and eats it. We're going to do the same thing in trading. We're going to make a spider web or a web around the market so that at the end of the day and at any time during the day, we can ask ourselves one important question. And this is probably the most important question you can ever ask while you're trading. And that is, do you care which way the market goes? We're going to show you a way of trading where you never care which way the market goes. You never are rooting for the market to go up because you know the market's going to take care of you. We also looked at what animal represents the market to you right now. And we know that in the future the animal is going to be a warm, fuzzy kitten or something very supportive. It's not going to be threatening. And we also know something that 99% of all traders do not know, and that is that there really is a Holy Grail. And it's very important that you understand that this Holy Grail is wanting what the market wants. And we're going to talk about this even more. So as we come to the close of the first day, week 1, the very first getting off the starting blocks, let's see what we need to do. First of all, you have several assignments. Number 1 assignment, and this is critically important. You read about this in your home study introduction, and that is that every morning when you wake up, you write 3 pages. You do this before doing anything except possibly going to the bathroom. This is very, very important. We can't overemphasize this. In fact, as we stated earlier, we have over 700 unsolicited letters from people who've been to our personal private tutorial here. And guess what? Most of those letters say that the most important thing they learned in the private tutorial and from this study is not necessarily making more money or even making a lot of money. What they learned was a great deal about themselves. And the thing that they mention most often is that the morning pages, those 3 pages, have changed their lives even more than learning how to trade successfully. So it's vitally important. In fact, let's put it this way. This is how important I believe it is. If you haven't written those 3 pages today, the first thing upon arising this morning, please, please close the book and don't write anymore. Don't read anymore and don't study anymore. Stop right now and go write those 3 pages. Now, it doesn't matter what you write. And if you get there and you can't think of anything to write, then you simply write down, I can't think of anything to write. And then as we go through this study period, we'll give you more and more ideas on what to say and what to investigate in those morning pages. But right now, it's crucially important that you develop the habit of writing those 3 pages. There's another habit that is very important for you to develop immediately, and that is listening to the autogenic training tapes. Listen to those AT tapes. Listen to one tape for an entire week. Won't take much time, but make time at least twice or 3 times a day to listen to the AT tapes, and make sure you make time to do the morning pages. And then thirdly, make sure that you study this material 1 day at a time. Now, we've set this up so it will not be a big interference time-wise with you to spend 1 day per page. If you're in a big hurry, if you have a lot of time, and if you learn very fast, you may choose to go 2 pages a day. That's your choice. But make very sure that you do not proceed until you totally understand everything that's gone before. So today, before you go to day 2, let's again remember, we want to know what kind of animal the market is. We want to know that the market is a friendly place. We want to know that there really is a holy grail, and we want to know why most people fail. They fail because they have the wrong logic map. And we're going to spend time studying that logic map later this week. So enjoy yourself, have a nice day today, and make sure that you get up in the morning, first thing, write those 3 pages. And again, welcome to day 1, week 1 of the Profitability Trading Group Home Study Package.
I'm Ellen Gregory Williams, and I designed the autogenic training tapes, or AT as we call them here, a system of deep relaxation, especially designed for investors. The stock and commodity markets produce a lot of stress. These tapes are designed to help you deal with that. And the thing that I like about autogenic training is this. It is a 10-minute program. And for people who are type A personalities or very, very busy people, it's perfect because it gives you the opportunity to deeply relax with a specific goal so that your mind isn't thinking about all the other things that you might be doing. AT was developed in Europe by Dr. Johann Schultz in the 1920s and is used there in clinics, hospitals, doctors' offices, and people claim great success with migraine headaches, high blood pressure, all kinds of stress-related health problems. So I want to urge you to do your practice early in the morning and again in the evening. Twice a day is essential so that these phrases can be firmly embedded in your consciousness. It is also important that you lie on a firm surface. I do teach that people use the floor, but if it's too cool or if that is uncomfortable for you for some reason, you can certainly do it on a bed or a couch. Be sure, however, that you don't touch your arms or legs. In other words, your arms are at your side. Don't cross your arms. Don't cross your legs at the knees or the ankles. It is important that you make sure the phone doesn't disturb you or the doorbell or someone coming in the room. When you do your practice, we always say we remember the end of the practice at the beginning, and that is called the return. The return is very vital that you come back from your practice using a way to come back to reality rather than the trance state that autogenic training induces. So do the return by making a tight fist, raising your arms over your head, and shaking out your hands, and shake them out vigorously. You may need to do this 2 or 3 times. If you forget to do this, you may feel groggy, sleepy, a little slow. So at the beginning, always remember the return. If you're going to use this as a sleep aid, of course, you don't do the return, and you only use your first 2 phrases. Each phrase of the 6 phrases is designed to provide a specific result. My right arm is heavy, relaxes the musculature of the entire body. My right hand is warm, improves the circulation and goes along with the deep relaxation. The next 2 phrases, my pulse is calm and regular, my breathing is calm and strong, improve the whole abdominal cavity and give you great strength in dealing with stressful situations. And the last 2, which are my favorite, my solar plexus is glowing warm and my forehead is cool. That allows you to operate in life or in the markets with a warm center and a cool head. 2 very valuable things to have. After you've finished your 6 weeks of practice, and I do want to add here that if you don't get the phrase in a week, take 2 weeks. Take extra time. Don't move on to the 2nd phrase or the 3rd phrase, whatever it may be, until you have that phrase mastered. Also, don't rush through. Don't try to do 2 or 3 phrases in a week because you won't really learn them in the way that you need to. So take your time, practice twice a day. Remember your return. And when you're through and you've really learned your AT, give it away or loan it to somebody. Let someone else benefit from this. If you have a problem, such as smoking or overeating, any kind of problem, you can design a phrase to add to your own 6 phrases. So call me if you need to, if you have a problem with even doing your practice or a question, or if you want to design a phrase for yourself. Feel free to call me and I'll be glad to help you in any way I can. Good trading and good relaxation.
Welcome to your second day of the first week of this program. I am absolutely sure that yesterday and today, the first thing you did in the morning was to write your 3 pages. If you didn't write in your 3 pages, then please hear me clearly. Do not go into today's. Cut this off right now, cut the videotape off, and don't go do your 3 pages. This is that important. And remember that the guarantee is guaranteed only if you follow the rules. And one of the first rules, and one of the most important rules, is that you must write your 3 pages every day. And it doesn't matter what you write. What the effect of that is we call it Drain-O for the brain-O. It drains your brain of all these things that mess you up during the day. The second thing that I'm sure that you're going to do or have already done today is listen to your AT tapes. And hopefully you're beginning to feel a little bit of heaviness around your right elbow. Today, our goals for today is to understand the markets better and to go further in understanding why most people don't win in trading the markets. Let's look at what the markets really are. They aren't what most people think they are. In fact, most professional traders do not really have a good understanding of exactly the purpose of the market. Let me give you an example that we used in our first book, Trading Chaos. We used the example of the Flintstones. And remember, the 2 main male characters in Flintstones were Fred, who was an outgoing, extrovert, hunter-type person, and there was his next-door neighbor, Barney, and Barney was the more introverted, more research-oriented, and more stay-at-home kind of a person. Well, Fred goes out and he kills him a dinosaur, and he drags that thing home, and he's got a bunch of extra dinosaur meat, and he sees that Barney has in his backyard a very nice new dinosaur hunting club. Now, Barney doesn't like to go out and hunt dinosaurs, but Fred does. Fred gets an idea, and he goes over to the fence and he talks to Barney, and he says, "Barney, I got a deal for you." Says, "I will swap you 2 platters of these dinosaur whoppers for that new club of yours." Barney thinks a moment, and he thinks that's a good deal. So he says, "Okay, Fred, you got a deal." And so they swap, and they have created a commodity or stock market. There's no market in the world that's more complicated than that. It may have more electronics, it may have more people on the floor, but the markets have one goal in mind. And that goal is to immediately find the exact price where there is an equal disagreement in value and an agreement on price. And think about that again. Now let's repeat that. Any market, the primary purpose of any market is to immediately, instantaneously find that exact price where there is an equal disagreement on value and an agreement on price. In Fred's mind, Barney's club was worth more to him than his 2 platters of dinosaur burgers, and to Barney's mind, those dinosaur burgers were worth more to him than his club. So they created a market, and no market in the world, doesn't matter how big it is more complicated than that. Again, to repeat for emphasis, the purpose of any market is to find that exact price where there's an equal disagreement on value and an agreement on price. Think about the last time you bought a car. That car was worth more to you than the money you paid for it or the money you borrowed to pay for it, and your money was worth more to the person you bought the car from than the car was. So you had an equal disagreement on value and an agreement on price, and that always happens. Now, if that's true, and it is, then we can simplify our trading a great deal. There's a lot of things we don't even have to bother with. Let's think about what those things are. First of all, we don't have to bother with bullish and bearish consensus. We don't have to bother with it because there's no such thing as bullish and bearish consensus. What normally happens when people put out statistics about consensus is that they survey a number of people. Let's assume, for example, that we have 4 people here in the room, And we go around and we survey these people, and we say, what do you think about Dell computer stock? And one guy likes it, another guy likes it, a lady likes it, and one guy doesn't like it. So we come out and we say, well, there is a 75% bullishness in Dell computer stock. Now, all that means is that they didn't survey all the bears. There cannot be bullishness or bearishness in any stock or commodity. If there were, the price would have already moved before you know about it, before I know about it, before the people who publish statistics about it, because the market is always exactly where it's supposed to be. Let me give you the truest statement I can make about the market. The market is where it is because that's where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be there because that's where it is. Now, anything else you say about the market is basically some form of BS. Let's think about some other things that we can simplify our trading with. One of the things we can throw out, which is dear to a lot of traders' heart, are oversold and overbought concept. There is no such thing. There can't be. Think about this. The markets are specifically designed so that there will never be any oversold or overbought. So what does it mean when somebody comes out on FNN or television or in the paper or in newsletters saying that the bonds are overbought or oversold? If they say they're oversold, it simply means that the bond went lower than I wish they had, or lower than I thought they were going to go. The bonds, remember, are exactly where they are because that's where they're supposed to be, and they're supposed to be there because that's where they are. Another thing that we can rule out is what a lot of people call good money management. If you read books on money management, you'll oftentimes see something like this. It says that whenever you call the broker to put in an order, you immediately, on that same phone call, you put in a stop order. For example, the other day I was reading in a magazine about money management, and it said whenever you put in a bond order to buy or sell one contract of the bonds, you immediately put in a $500 stop. Now that seems to make sense at first, but think about that. If you put in a $500 stop, what you're trading is your belief system, and you're trading your wallet or your bank account. You aren't trading the market. And the only way that we know how to trade the market is to be in tune with the market. And the market is always, remember, exactly where it's supposed to be. Let's think about another thing. Most people who trade generally trade with less information than they wish they had. So they call the broker and they say, what do you think about this? Or they read newsletters, or they watch television. But what would happen if you had all of the information in all of the world? If you had all the information totally, you would be 100% ambivalent, because the markets are exactly where they are because there's always the same amount of reasons to buy that they are to sell. If there were more good reasons to buy than there were to sell, the market would have already gone up. So the markets, again, are exactly where they are because that's where they're supposed to be. So forget about bullish, bearish consensus. Forget about oversold, overbought. Forget about how much money you should risk on each trade, or what percentage of your overall money you should risk on any trade. And remember something from yesterday and yesterday's assignment, and that is that there really is a holy grail. And the way to win at the market, the only way to win at the market consistently that we have found, and I've been trading for over 40 years now, successfully and actively, is to want what the market wants. That's all you have to worry about, is to want what the market wants. Now tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to discuss some grounded and ungrounded assessments and how to look at only grounded assessments in the market. What we did yesterday was look at what makes up the market, what kind of animal the market is, and today we concentrated on exactly what the market is. Now, don't go forward until you really understand that, and don't go forward until you really understand that we can rule out a lot of the concepts like oversold, overbought. One of the greatest definitions, descriptions of the market I've ever heard was given in Chicago by a guy who he'd borrowed $1,200, and he'd parlayed that $1,200 that he borrowed from an aunt into something between $200 and $400 million in a little over a decade. When he was asked, he was told that you're the legend, you've done better than anybody, and he was asked, what's the secret of your success? And he gave this best description I've ever heard, and listen carefully. He said that I realized early on in my trading career that in the markets, there's a lot less here than meets the eye. Now think about that. there's a lot less here than meets the eye. There's a psychological axiom that says that we humans have two innate characteristics. One is that we have a tendency to overcomplicate everything we touch. And the corollary to that, and the second one, is because we overcomplicate everything we touch, we can't see the obvious. And this study program is about seeing the obvious in the market. One final reminder today is to make sure that you have done your 3 pages. If not, again, I plead with you, don't go forward in this course. Don't go to day 3, week 1, until you've done your 3 pages and listened at least twice to heaviness in your autogenic training tapes. And we'll end there for today, and tomorrow we're going to look at grounded versus ungrounded assessments. Welcome back now. We're on day 3 of week 1, and this is going to get more and more exciting as we go through. Part of the reason it's going to get more exciting is that you're learning more about yourself every morning when you do the 3 pages. And remember, it doesn't matter what you say. The only thing that matters is that you be consistent. And don't worry about correcting your writing. Don't even read your writing for at least 8 weeks. And we'll come back 8 weeks from now and we'll read that, and then we'll see how your attitude has changed. And talking about attitude, let me start off this morning with a question for you. Suppose, and make this as real as you can, suppose I'm in your presence right now, and I've just written you a $10,000 cashier's check, and I want you to do me a favor. I want you to get on a plane. I'll fly you first class to Las Vegas, and I want you to go out there, and I want you to lose that $10,000 for me. Think about that. Can you do it? Do you think you're really capable of losing that $10,000 for me? I don't care how long it takes. I'll take care of the hotel bill. I'll take care of your eats, your flight, first class, everything. All I want you to do is to go out there and guarantee me that you can lose that $10,000 for me. Now, most people I offer this to, they think that's a gimme. You know, sure, I can go out there and lose it. Let me rephrase the question just a bit. I'm going to write you a $10,000 check. I'm going to buy you a first-class airfare. I'm going to take care of all your expenses. But now I want you to take that $10,000 out there, and I want you to double it for me before you come back. Can you do it? Most people, they feel, well, I don't know if I can do that or not. I know I can lose it. But think about what that's saying about your attitude and about your attitude in the market. And remember, we want the market to be a very friendly place, not a bad place, but a place that is like a cornucopia. It can give you whatever you wish monetarily. And we said in the first day, and we're going to repeat that now, that most people lose because they use the wrong maps. And let's look at the maps that we use. Again, anybody who is attracted to this is normally in the top 10%, so we know a little bit about science. Now, our particular science, as you will read in the book and in your manual, came from Aristotle. And we've spent 2,500 years improving this science. It's like we're climbing up a ladder of wisdom, but when we get to the top of the ladder, we find out that it's leaning up against the wrong building. The Chinese have a curse. They say, may you live in interesting times. And we're cursed. We're living in interesting times because science is getting all messed up. The things that we counted upon are gone now. We used to think that the main constant in the universe was the speed of light, that nothing goes faster than the speed of light, but tens of thousands of experiments in quantum mechanics have proved that there are a number of things that go faster than the speed of light. As a matter of fact, there's some things that go so fast that for all measurement purposes, they're in 2 places at once. Now, this doesn't square too well with the way we were brought up in science. And when we look at science, we want to look at science and take the things that we can use for trading. The 20th century is going to be remembered for 3 things, 3 outstanding scientific achievements, in my opinion. The first was relativity from Einstein. The second was quantum mechanics. And the third is the science of chaos. Now, one of the problems with science, classical science we're talking about now, is that there are 2 areas which classical science simply does not address and does not solve problems in. And those 2 areas are turbulence, number 1, and number 2 is living systems. Now, the market, to me, if anything, is living systems, human beings, in a turbulent atmosphere that we call the market. The science of chaos specifically addresses itself to these turbulent movements and to living systems. For example, classical science can take us to the moon and back, but it cannot explain at all the blood flow in the left ventricle of the heart, nor can it explain how a petunia or corn blossoms and produces corn. And it cannot explain the market. What happens in the market is simply this. Remember, we're the top 10% of the smartest people in the world. We've been successful, we've accumulated money, we come to the market, we fail. So what we do is we look back over old charts and we say things like, if I had bought here, sold here, and bought there, I would have made a lot of money. We take a template, and we take this template from the past and we try to find a market that it fits. The underlying assumption of all technical analysis is false. That underlying assumption is that the future will be like the past. Now what we want to do in the Profittunity approach is forget the templates, forget the past. We want to trade the unfolding behavior of the market. Remember, several years ago there was a comedian by the name of Flip Wilson, and he used to do a number about the church, his church, which he called the church of what's happening now. We want to trade the market of what's happening now. And to do that, we want to pick out only the assessments that are grounded. And what do we mean by a grounded assessment? We're always assessing everything, and whenever we trade the market, we're assessing every movement the market makes. A grounded assessment, put in very simple terms, is simply this. A grounded assessment is one that if we were taken to court, we could win a unanimous verdict with 12 of our peers. For example, you might look around now and there might be somebody else in the room and you might say, well, he has on a shirt. Well, we look, and if we see that he has on a shirt, that's a grounded assessment. We could get a jury of our peers to agree that the person has on a shirt. But then we go one step further and we say that person, Joe or whoever it is, has on a nice shirt. Now we're in ungrounded terms. We have gone to belief systems, and there's going to be a lot of disagreement on this. I might like the shirt, you might not like the shirt. Most of your assessments in the market are going to be ungrounded assessments. In this home study program, we're going to teach you the 5 grounded assessments of the market and the one discriminating factor that we'll get into in week 3. Let me give you another example. If you were a camera, all you take is what's there. So if you took this camera and you took it out in the street and you took a picture of a yellow vehicle that has black writing on it, that's all the camera would take. It assesses the reality of it. But when we look at it, we don't see a yellow vehicle with black writing. What we see is a school bus. And then everything comes into our thinking. We've got to be very careful. We can't go faster than 15 miles an hour. Watch out for the kids. And if the sign is out, the stop sign's out, or the red lights are flashing, don't you dare pass it. Now, that has nothing to do with reality. That comes from our history, from our belief systems. And if you can see the difference between the camera and coming from our belief systems, you will see the difference between a successful trader and an unsuccessful trader. All successful traders use grounded assessments and use relatively few ungrounded assessments. Again, if we can look at the market for what it is, and we want to see the reality of the market, then we're going to trade better. So our assignment for today is to look around and see how many ungrounded assessments we make. We come from our belief systems. This morning I woke up with a lady in my bed. Happened to be my wife, Ellen. She's the same lady I went to bed with last night. Now, when I got up this morning, I made the assumption that that was the same lady I went to bed with. It wasn't. She's 8 or 10 hours older than she was. She may have had a bad night or a good night or whatever. But my assumption makes it simple to deal with, but I'm not dealing with reality. I'm dealing with my memory of how she was when we went to bed last night. We all do this. We just want in this program to see how much we do it and what a difference it makes if we can make that discrimination. And in the market, it's going to be the difference between losing and winning. So let's review what we've talked about today. Very briefly, we've looked at the history of science, and we found out that classical science is simply not efficient in dealing with the market. The markets are turbulent, and they come from human beings. It's a composite of all the crazy decisions that all the traders and investors in the world make at this particular time. We also looked at grounded versus ungrounded assessments, and we want to establish that we only work with grounded assessments. And we also looked at the science of chaos. Now, later on, we're going to look in more detail at the science of chaos and how it's going to help us in dealing with the market. A quick review: make sure that if you haven't done it already, that you listen to your AT tapes today twice. And also, don't forget, in the morning, the first thing you do is write your 3 pages. Otherwise, we don't do the lesson. So that's day 3 of week 1. We're halfway through the week now, and we have more coming this week. Have a good night. Have good morning pages. We'll see you here tomorrow. Well, here we are now, day 4, week 1. We're progressing really fast through this first week. And again, we're going to go slightly slower. We'll pick up speed as we go along. And it's very important for me to remind you once again, I'm sure I don't have to do it, but I'm going to do it. You did, in fact, do your 3 pages this morning, did you? And you also have listened to the AT tapes, or at least will listen to them at least twice today. And you should be feeling pretty heavy. What our goal is today is to go a little bit further into the science and how science of chaos helps us in understanding the market, and we're going to go into it much deeper next week. But we also want to look at the 5 levels of trading. And the first 3 levels are basically based on science, and these are easy to teach. The top 2 levels involved art. There is a science and an art to trading, and art only comes with experience. The first level is what we call the novice level. These are people who have either not traded before, or if you've traded, you haven't been as successful as you think you should be or want to be. And the purpose of the novice level is to not lose money in the market while you're gaining experience. Remember, on day 1, we suggested very strongly, I hope, that you do not trade with actual money yet, but that you try these techniques until you learn them well in paper trading. When you get to trading at the novice level, you may not make a lot of money, but you're not losing money, and you are gaining experience. Then we add more techniques, and at the second level, which is the minimally competent or the advanced novice level, our goal there is to make money consistently with a small number of contracts or the minimum investment. We put on more trades here, and we take a longer, more panoramic look at the market. At the first level, we're looking at the market with very, very microscopic eyes, looking at each bar, each tick, everything the market does. Then at the second level, we want to take a more panoramic view. At the third level, our goal is to maximize our ROI, our return on investment, so that we can make the greatest percentage. And in talking about the percentage, a question that oftentimes comes up from people at this stage in the course is, how much money can I expect to make? Well, that depends. That depends on your amount that you start with, how risk adverse you are. And remember, one of the first things you ever learn in life is to be risk adverse, right? Your mother says, don't touch the hot stove, don't go out in the street. So you learn that very clearly. And now here you are, a grown-up in a profession of taking risk on purpose. So at this level, you're maximizing return on investment. As a general rule, we have found that people who internalize these concepts and who can use this in the market and actually use it in their own trading, our minimum goal for you is to average. Now, you're not going to do this every month. Some months will be much better, some months will be not that good. In fact, you're probably going to have some months where that you will lose some money. But in general, your goal, we think, a reasonable goal would be about 10% a month on equity. Now, 10% a month is a lot better than passbook savings. 10% a month compounded is a little over 300% a year. To give you another idea, if you're really successful and do this consistently, 10% a month will turn a $10,000 account to over $1 million in just over 4 years. We'll talk about that later during the course. The fourth level, we go into trading our own beliefs, and we trade our own beliefs at every level, but at the fourth level we're aware of them. This we call the virtuoso. This is someone who understands the market very clearly, and it's a right hemisphere operation. It's a knowing without knowing how you know. It's an effortless effort. And the fifth level is the master level. This is the master level, and the master level is characterized by people who see things in the market that haven't been seen before. They leave a legacy for those coming after them. They discover things that no one has ever discovered before. So the 5 levels are the novice, the advanced novice, the competent. This is a level where you maximize your return on investment. Those 3 levels we can teach quite easily because we're using grounded assessments. We know what they are. We know what we're going to do with them. The top 2 levels, the virtuoso and the master level, come only with experience. So we're scheduling this course in these 12 weeks so that you can get the maximum amount of experience while you're going through the course. So those are the 5 levels. And what I'd like to do is spend just a little bit more time talking about how science is changing. Science is changing, and remember in the old days, classical science dealt with 4 things. In fact, when Einstein was studying science, he was told that there are 4 things in the universe. There's mass, there is time, there is space, and there's energy. And those are the 4 things. Now, what Einstein found was that space and time are really the same thing. And he also found that mass and energy can be interchanged. So he took away the 4 posts that classical science is built upon. And now we know that everything is energy. The market is energy, and we're going to do an energetic analysis of the market and an energetic analysis of our own belief system, and that's what's going to help us out in learning how to trade better. So today, we want you to read the first chapter, read it very carefully, and think about these things. And as you're thinking about these things, think about how you would like your life to be. What do you want from trading? What kind of a lifestyle? And believe me, it's the best lifestyle in the world. And I don't have to sell you on it because you're in this course. It's not labor intensive. There's no limit to the amount of money you can make. If you're in a profession and you want to double your income, you have to hire more people. You have to hire more accountants, more helpers. In this, all you have to do is sell me 2 contracts instead of 1. So a quick review of today. We're looking at the 5 levels of trading. We're looking at our goals. And if we're not making our goals, something is wrong with us, not with the market. We need to understand the market better. And when we get into the psychological aspects later in this course, we're going to find out, for example, that one of the interesting things about language is that we usually don't say what we mean. For example, take the word we just used, understand. From now on, every time you use the word understand, mark that out and in its place put the word control. So when we're talking to our kids and we say, man, I just don't understand why you would do that, what we're really saying is I don't control what you're doing. Or if you're talking to your spouse and you say, I don't understand, you just don't understand me. What we're really saying is you don't control me. Same thing happens in the market. When we get in the crazy market, we call it crazy, meaning that we've lost money, or we don't understand the market, meaning we don't control the market. We call one of our friends and say, hey, the bonds are going crazy. Do you understand what's happening? What we're saying is, do you control what's happening? And what we're going to find out is that you don't have to understand or even control the market to make money. All we have to do is fall back on the Holy Grail, which is want what the market wants. Because if we want what the market wants, we're never going to be disappointed. We're never going to have anticipations that aren't met because we want exactly what the market wants. So our job at this point is to learn what the market wants. And the best way to learn what the market wants is to understand more about the science of chaos, fractal geometry, and nonlinear dynamics. Now, those are big words, but they're very simple in concept, and we're going to make them so simple they'll be automatic and automagic for you. So, we're at the end of day 4. Read the first chapter in the manual and in the book, and study and make sure that you don't go forward until you know everything that's gone before. Tomorrow we're going to spend most of the day reviewing what we've covered so far. So have a good night, do the morning pages in the morning, do your AT, and enjoy yourself. Here we are at day 5, week 1. We're through 1/12 of the course, and today we're going to spend some time in talking about a couple of new concepts, and we're going to spend a lot of time in reviewing to make sure that you understand everything in week 1 before we go further. I'm absolutely sure that you did your morning pages and you've done your AT. One thing I'd like to point out in your manual is that we have notes here in your manual so that for everything we talk about, you can make notes on the side. We've done that because you need to put your input there. Today we want to talk a little bit about process and content. Yesterday we mentioned that classical science and new quantum mechanics and the science of chaos are very different in that they focus on process. For example, in classical science, all classical science divides things into three parts. You have the observer, you have whatever is being observed, and you have the process of observing. So a classical scientist might say, my head, it hurts, where a quantum scientist who does not believe in nouns but believes in process and believes in verbs would say something like, I am in the process of headaching myself. This is very important because if we get stuck in content, it's going to be much more difficult to win in trading. Trading is a process. Trading is a process the same way that dancing is a process. So when you go out dancing, your object is not to see how fast you can get across the floor. Your object is to enjoy the process. And what we want to do is enjoy the process of trading, because we found that if you're not having fun trading, you're doing something wrong. And you're probably losing money while you're doing that thing wrong. We also want to look at the difference between working and playing. If you go to Webster's dictionary and look under the word work, you'll see toil, tribulation, and all kind of things that aren't too attractive. If you look under play, you see something very different. Let's look at the world we live in. The people who get the most money today, by and large, are people who are playing. The sports stars, Michael Jordan, makes millions and millions every week. He is paid on what he produces. You take someone who, for example, the president of General Motors is not paid on what he produces. He's paid on the production of those hundreds of thousands of people who work for General Motors. Now, we're pointing this out because trading the markets, both commodities and stock market, is a plaything. You get paid for what you do. And it's interesting some of the words we use. For example, we work and we work and we work so that we can save money to pay to see somebody else play. There's been a great deal of work done on the difference between playing and working. The former head of the psych department at the University of Chicago has written 2 books on this called The Flow. And he's talking about what happens when you get in the zone. After we go through all of the signals that we're going to study in this course, we're going to spend an entire week on how to get into the zone and stay in the zone. One of the things is that you have to be relaxed. You have to enjoy what you're doing. And trading is an excellent way to do that because everything depends upon your own decisions. If you lose money, it's because you made the wrong decision. That decision might have been let somebody else trade your money for you, but you made the decision. The other side of that is that if you make money, you don't have to say thank you to anyone. You don't have to be politically correct. You don't have to bow to anyone's wishes. You are in charge. My wife once wrote an article about this, describing this attitude, and she described it in that article as sliding down the razor blade of life, which is a pretty good definition and explanation of it. It's a good picture of it because it depends upon you. And one of the problems of staying in the zone is that you have to have immediate feedback. When this doctor who was the head of the psych department wrote the book, he picked out some occupations where people have a lot of fun. One of the occupations he picked out was brain surgeons. And the reason he picked out brain surgeons is that they apparently have an unusual characteristic in that when most of them go on a vacation, they go someplace else, like a third world country, and do brain surgery. And they like doing what they're doing so much that they can't picture not doing it, even on a vacation. Another characteristic he found was that to stay in the zone, you must have immediate feedback. And we have it in trading. We put on a trade, we buy or sell, and the very next price change, we're either winning or losing. So we have all of the ingredients, not only to trade, to make money, but also to grow ourselves. Now, since this is the last day of this first week, let's spend a few minutes reviewing what we've talked about this first week. We first of all looked at what the market was. We looked at what the market was, what attracts us to us, and what are the characteristics that you have. We know again that you're in the top 10% intelligence-wise. You're very successful and have been successful in business and or profession. And if you've accumulated money, and 90% of you are failing when it comes to using technical analysis in the market. We know that technical analysis doesn't work because it's built on the false assumption that the future is going to be like the past. And if 40 years plus has taught me anything about trading, is that the future will not be like the past. The S&P, for example, is not what it was even a year ago. The personality has changed completely in the last year. We also spent some time this week talking about the importance of the difference between a grounded and an ungrounded assessment. Remember that a grounded assessment is one that we can get complete agreement on, and an ungrounded one comes from some evaluation of ourselves. And anytime we evaluate something, we have to use our perception. And a perception, when you really look at it, is the process of leaving out details. We also, and this is very, very important, found out what the market really is. The market, the purpose of the market is to find that exact price where there is an equal disagreement on value and an agreement on price. And from that, we also were able to throw away a lot of things like bullish consensus, bearish consensus, oversold, overbought, a lot of money management things, and we found that there really is a holy grail. And that holy grail is very simply 5 words, which is want what the market wants. And if we want what the market wants, that means we have to give up some of the restrictions of the way that we think things should be. We have to mold ourselves to fit the market. The market's not going to mold to fit ourselves. But if we can do this, we're going to be very, very successful, and there's going to be few, if any, disappointments in our trading career. And as we come toward the end of this first week, it's very important that you read in your study manual your job for this weekend. The other side of writing the 3 pages every day is to take your IT, and we call it an IT, which stands for your inner trader, on a date this weekend. And by a date, we mean that you spend anywhere from a minimum of 2 to 4 hours with your date, with your IT. You go by yourself, don't take any of the kids, don't take any friends, do something kind of outrageous. Take a $10 bill and give it to someone in the shopping center, or give it to someone on the street and see what happens. Do something different. Don't do something that you always do on the weekend, but pick out something that's very different. This is the other side. When you are writing your morning pages, you're getting rid of a lot of junk, of a lot of stuff that ideas and just plain mental junk that's accumulated in your brain. When you take your IT on a date, then you're receiving. You're going to get ideas about trading. You're going to get ideas about your life and what you really want from life. And it's important that you do all of the questions, answer all the questions at the end of this first chapter in your study guide, and make sure that you answer them honestly and truthfully. Make sure that you continue 7 days a week to write your morning pages. And don't let anyone see your morning pages. Don't you read them for at least 8 weeks. So here we are at the end of the first week. We've gone rather slow. We haven't talked anything about specific signals in the market or specific buys and sells. We want to make sure that we get our approach and our philosophical outlook on the market grounded as a grounded assessment in your mind before we go on. Now next week we're going to take a very close look at Chapter 2 in your manual. We're going to take a close look at the science of chaos, fractal geometry, and nonlinear dynamics, and how all of that fits in to a new way of looking not only at the market, but looking at your life. So take a couple of days off, have a great date with your IT, and we'll see you here next week.